Oh
All
yeah,
right,
I left the thing last time too.
fellas, please try not to melt the servers this time with the questions that keep coming in.
Yeah, just slow it down a little bit. Like we know you want to ask us questions, but all right. So we're live everywhere. This is a quick pop-up episode of the Gunner Technology Livestream. The topic for today is tech for low tech people. So this is a timely episode because this is something that we literally just dealt with. So maybe you can give a broad overview or a brief overview of what the issue is with convincing people. I guess first off that they have an itch they need to scratch, and then that we can help them scratch that itch.
Yeah, and it's not so much convincing as just kind of bringing to light the fact that there is a need for technology, and this has been at the forefront of my struggles as people who watch the stream may know that we don't really do a lot of proactive salesmanship. If you listen to the show before, you know that we work with the government, entrepreneurs, and businesses. And this kind of episode deals with the third case, which is businesses. And what we've started doing is we've started to try to expand. You know, we're trying to kind of muscle in on Amazon's territory a little bit there. So we're trying to expand into different businesses and industries. And so we've actually been doing a lot of appointment setting. And so I'm talking to a lot of general managers of companies and sometimes the owner, but usually the general manager about their technology and how we can help them. And they're persistently like, no, because my whole talking point is basically, and I'll get into exactly what it is, but basically, hey, so what is it that frustrates you about the job there? Like, what do you do routinely over and over and over again? Not much. Oh, so you don't do anything like on pen and paper or with spreadsheets. Yeah, no. Yeah, kind of. I'm like, all right, well, listen, I'm not trying to sell you anything here. I'm just trying to figure out, how technology can like make your business better. And the struggle is that there is always inefficiencies in business, and not always, but always there are inefficiencies that can be solved through technology. The problem is that business owners, especially in industries that aren't technology related, aren't even aware of the possibilities to solve problems that they don't even know they have. To them, it's perfectly reasonable to put all their employee sales figures into a spreadsheet and sort it by, say, monthly revenue, and then select the top salesman of the month and give that salesman a bonus.
Yeah,
And
I think it's funny how a lot of the holdups come back to the ubiquity of spreadsheets and how long spreadsheets have been the way that business is done. Uh, it's really hard to get people out of the spreadsheet mindset, I found.
right, it really is, and it's 9 times out of 10 way less efficient than even doing it at all. Our kind of mantra is never do the same thing twice, and anything that can be automated, automate kind of thing. And that second one is not real, doesn't really resonate with business owners or general managers. But if I'm saying, hey, are you doing anything the same every month? Yeah. Well, we do payroll the same every month, and we have to input the data. Okay, so you probably spend like 100 hours a year putting in numbers for payroll. Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, you don't have to spend any hours a month putting in numbers for payroll. I mean, literally, that problem can go away. And I think also that these general managers are used to getting sold systems. So, hey, buy our point of sale system. Hey, buy our suite of document tools. Use our payroll system. And that's generally not what we're trying to do. And a matter of fact, it's not what we're trying to do at all. What we're trying to do is connect your POS system to your payroll system, or kind of automate the disparate parts that you have, so you never have to copy and paste anything from anything ever again. That's what we're kind of going after. But it's so hard because I've used very generic examples because most companies have payroll, most companies have a point of sale system. But what we really shine at is doing things that we're not even aware of. So we're not experts in the steel industry, but I guarantee if we have a steel someone in the steel industry listening right now, within 30 minutes of you telling me about your day or your week or your month, I can point out things that could go away like that. But without having that conversation, I don't even know, what goes on a daily basis in the steel industry, for example.
Yeah. So if the ghost of Andrew Carnegie is out there, give us a holler. We can definitely help you out. There's another interesting holdup that people have, which is the fact that I think people are hesitant to offload responsibility onto technology. Like I think there's a comfort angle too, where people like having control over the data that they work with.
Right, right. And not only the data, but just everything that they work with. I got off a call with someone today who was extraordinary. He's a general manager, extraordinarily excited about increasing the technology presence within the company and expanding the technology stack and all that. But the owner of the company insists on doing things on pen and paper, insists in being involved in every kind of technological change they make. And I don't mean like involved in like, signing off on it. I mean like having a hand in doing the technological changes. And kind of embracing technology means kind of letting go a little bit because you're basically putting off a lot of stuff on the technology. So you kind of have to let go of it. And
yeah, and there is a distrust too of technology. It's hard to, I mean, this is something that you have to convince people of, is the fact that technology actually works. I think people are very hesitant to switch over to something that sort of happens sight unseen.
right, which is kind of weird because I mean, by leaps and bounds, that human error is much more prevalent in businesses than computer error. Sure, your computer freezes and it's annoying, but if you look at, say, for example, data entry, humans make so many more errors than machines who can do the same task repetitively over and over and over and over again with never making a mistake. So it's much safer to put especially routine tasks in the hand of technology.
Yeah, and a lot of technology has to be written to handle the fact that data is so awful that comes in from humans. It's like
Correct.
that's a large part of what we develop. A lot of the software that we develop is handling the fact that God only knows how people are going to put data in, and you got to handle all the edge cases.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so you also have this other weird factor where people have to feel like they're doing something. And so even if they're not necessarily losing their job, if you take something they're doing and they don't have to do it.
Although, if we're honest, that's a non-trivial part of it. I think
Right.
is the fact that people don't want to be replaced by an algorithm that can run until like the heat death of the sun and just never make a mistake.
Right. But the weird thing is like these same people are the people who complain they're so busy they don't have time to do like the real business work that would move the needle, that would actually move the company forward. They're so busy with all this routine work that they don't have time to kind of innovate or go out and find more work or whatever. And that's exactly what technology is supposed to do. It's supposed to free the humans to be humans and kind of improve and grow the company. Where technology is supposed to take the stuff that can be automated and remove it from humans' purview so they can focus on things that humans can do.
It's strange that that's such a tough sell. You would think that would almost sell itself.
Yeah, but it's again, and once you have that trust factor, it's pretty easy to kind of explore that and get someone on board. Like if I've known someone for 4 years and they're in the construction industry and they're bitching about the fact that they don't even know when their subcontractors get on site, I can say something like, well, like, why don't you just make your subcontractors have like an app on their phone so it automatically alerts you when they get on site? And if they're not on site at a certain time, you get a notification that the subcontractor isn't there. And they're like, of course, yeah, it's no brainer. But it's that whole like, hey, how you doing? I'm Cody Swan. I own a software company. Let me tell you why you should invest in technology. That is a tough sell.
Yeah, and I guess what have you found that works for the folks listening out there who might be having a tough time selling their own technological ideas to people?
Sure, and I by no means figured this out because we've just started kind of doing these appointment setting calls. I'm happy to kind of like go through my script, which I constantly whittle down from call to call. But
and I will say before you jump into that, I think one of the best things, nothing is better than showing people what technology can do. If you can open a page up, and this is what's great about rapid prototyping, is if you can open a page up, code something up real quick and say, well, look what this can do. It's hard for them to say, oh, geez, I don't want that. That's going to save me way too much money and time.
Right. Exactly. And that is the benefit of prototyping. And that's, by the way, that's why relevant to another call I had today, is why to build the prototype, we never try to gouge on building the prototype, because usually there's a distrust factor there where we want to prove to the potential client or the client that a concept will work. So when you throw out a high price tag, say 20 grand or 100 grand or whatever it is to build a prototype, you have a much less chance of getting it if you just say, hey, we're going to do this at our cost because we believe in it so strongly that if you go forward and use it, we know that that's where we're going to make our money. Because once you see how good this is, you're going to want more and more and more of it.
Plus it's all about building relationships. I mean, that's a huge part of what we try and do.
That's 100% right. And like, I don't think there has been one client where we just had one project with them. I don't think it's ever happened. And so it is all about kind of just proving that not only can technology be trusted, but you could be trusted. And then there will be more projects from that client, guaranteed.
So that was a long tangent. Why don't you go ahead and get to the script that you've been working through?
Sure. So generally, again, when I have these calls with GMs or the stakeholders, there's been an appointment being set, meaning they've talked to a sales associate of ours who kind of at least teed it up a little bit. So I'll just read kind of from the script, which I usually go off of as soon as I get on the call, but generally follow something like this. So, oh, hey, Bill, it's Cody from Gunner Technology. I know our sales team made this appointment, so I appreciate you taking the time. Is it still a good time to talk? Awesome. The first thing you need to know is that I'm not a salesman at all. I'm the CEO of the company, and I don't have anything to sell you. In fact, trying to sell you on something would be a bit presumptuous because I'm not an expert in your industry or business. You see, we create software for the government, entrepreneurs, and businesses. The first two are pretty simple. The government posts the spec for a project they want completed. They want changes to a voting system, an app for visitors to a state park, an earthquake notification app, whatever. It goes on and on. Entrepreneurs are kind of the same thing. They have an idea for the next Facebook or an app that will track your spending habit or an app that will help you make better decisions. It's a game changer. It'll be the next big thing. It's usually not a full scoped out project, but at least they have an idea in their head of what they want to build, and we can kind of flesh out the details from there. But businesses are really different. And we work with companies in all sorts of interests. So there's no way that I or anyone else on my team is going to be an expert in every industry. However, I am an expert in technology and business. I have an MBA and I've owned a company since I was 25 years old. And with that expertise, I know every company has inefficiencies that technology can solve. I also know that if you do things a certain way long enough, you may not even recognize those inefficiencies. We've had financial advisors who've combed over property appraisal records for hours each week, just looking for prospects, doing searches one by one. We've automated this. We've automated this for them, and they're now getting twice as many prospects in a fraction of the time each week. We've had medical companies manually reconciling the cost of rental equipment at the end of every month on spreadsheets. We automated this, and so now it's done for them with no human intervention at all. They don't even think about it. None of this was even known to be possibilities to these groups of people. So maybe you're sitting there right now, and an idea popped into your head from my spiel, or maybe now that you're thinking about it, you'll find something down the road that would be a godsend if you never had to worry about it again. That's what we're here for, and that's what we do.
There it is.
Sell me this pen.
That's perfect. I mean, that is funny too, that how locked in people get into their day-to-day. I mean, they don't even take like a step back and think about, man, it would be great if I didn't have to do this, because it's just it's so routine. It's habit at that point that they don't even think about how amazing it would be if they had. I mean, some of this stuff takes like 40 hours out of their month, and it could be automated, and they'd have all that time to do everything that they should be doing.
Yeah, it really is. You get so close to stuff, you just accept that that's the way it is, and it's dangerous because eventually someone in your industry is not going to accept it, and they're going to get a big advantage if their employees and have a lot more time to focus on moving the business of the company rather than kind of maintaining the current processes of the business. So it's all about freeing up people from process to go kind of compete against other companies in their industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game at this point. As quickly as technology is progressing, like if you're not ahead of the curve, you're toast.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. And it's tough. It's like I said, the possibilities become endless once you're exposed to it. So it's kind of like a runway, and you kind of start off slow, but then once you get kind of your wings underneath it, you're flying in no time, and you're just going to kind of leave the competitors behind you, and that's great if you're the company that's innovative, but it's not so great if you're the company that's not. I mean, Amazon is one of those companies that's extremely innovative, and they never rest on. They always take second looks at things. They always ask themselves if there's more that machines can be doing, if there's more that software can be doing, and they're basically taking over the world. Forget what you may or may not think about Amazon. You have to admit that they're a very successful company, and that success comes in large part from automation.
And thinking about what industries could easily be automated, which is actually, I guess, getting that's a topic for our Thursday live stream. But it really is at this point, everything can be automated, and it's what is the most ripe for the picking at this point.
And so,
for a lot of these companies.
Yeah, and also we did have a question, so I wanted to get to that because we always miss the questions when we get off. So here's a question: what about finding support when there is a glitch or agonizing question? And so I think we're talking about here if there's existing software and there's a glitch or a bug where the software does not work as intended. So I think the answer to that question um, is that it's. I'm not sure if the question's direct is if do we do that, or if it's important to have a company that can do that, or if it's important to have training that you pass along to the client in the case of a bug that comes up and you need support of. Um, Kind of the answer to that is it's especially when you're moving to new software, the need for support is definitely key, because not only are you using it, you need to learn how to use it or at least start it. You kind of need to know what to do if something goes wrong, and in that vein, like if the power goes out and you have to kind of restart a process or something like that. But most software is self-healing in the case that, like, if the power goes out or if there's a glitch, it should recover kind of automatically. In the case of an agonizing question, again, I'm not sure if the question is, do we answer agonizing questions, or how would you go about answering agonizing questions?
We answer agonizing questions all the time.
All the time. And I was gonna say, kind of like, talking's always free with us is kind of our mantra. So we like that. So if a business ever has a question like, hey, how hard would it be to open the door automatically whenever a shipment arrives from UPS, so we don't have to send someone down to open the door? We're even if we're not the one to solve that, because we probably wouldn't be, because there's existing technology to do that. We can definitely answer that question and point you in the right direction and say, well, yeah, actually Ring has this software that can detect motion at the door, and using their API, you can ping it to swing a door open, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a great point. And nobody should ever hesitate to get in touch with us, because we're interested in, I would say, just about everything. So even if you think you're in the most boring industry in the universe, whatever that may be, I don't want to call anyone out, but we'd still love to hear about it, because I'm sure there's something.
What would be the most boring industry in the universe?
I
mean, obviously it's subjective, because some things are boring to people that aren't But man,
The most boring industry in the universe, and I don't want to call too many people out. What would be the most boring industry? What was the job in Office Space? What did they do in Office Space?
oh my gosh, TPS reports.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think data entry is one of the most boring industries in the universe, and maybe that's just me. But and it's the ripest for automation. But honestly, just putting in numbers every single day, just transcribing numbers, just that's the type of industry that would just weigh on my soul.
Yeah. And I know the worst industry in the world is moderators for any sort of
Yes,
any sort
yes,
of anything that hosts media. You don't want to
yes.
be a moderator for any of that.
We speak from
I think
experience. We speak from
yeah,
experience.
you can work that for a couple weeks and then you're ready to probably enter data at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and not that we were. Well, actually, I was part of my responsibilities was as a moderator back at the
Oh yeah.
Gainesville Sun,
Oh
but
yeah.
at ESPN, we built that moderation queue, and we saw the filthiest of filth come through that
It's just
moderation queue.
you don't want to moderate anything.
No,
You
no.
quickly lose almost all faith in humanity once you moderate any sort of.
You know what's funny on that note? And at ESPN, we thought we had it bad, but so Google actually,
Oh,
they
we had it
obviously
so good. We had it so good at ESPN.
they have obviously machines that will automatically flag things, but they have, if you ever go on Google image search, there's like a search filter. You can have safe search or unfiltered, and so someone has to go through, whether it be machine or human or a combination of both, and label stuff that should get filtered out from like safe search. And I think I saw this show. I think it was on Showtime, called The Dark Web, and they talk to some of the people that go through and label stuff like unsafe for the safe search, and these people like fall into deep depression.
Yeah. Yeah, I read an article, I think it was on Vice, about the people who actually do it, and they were just like, "I'll never be the same again."
Yes. I mean,
So
I
don't
laugh.
do that.
It's not funny, but it's just shocking. It's shocking, like how just miserable the stuff that people upload to the internet really is.
That's why don't work any sort of moderation job.
No,
That's no joke.
no,
Pass
no.
pass that opportunity up.
And it's interesting because their thing that people may interest people, whenever I tell them about it, it's always like their mind's kind of blown, is the concept of a mechanical Turk, which I think you've used it more than I can, so you can probably explain it a little bit better than I can. But whenever I've told someone about mechanical Turk, they're just kind of blown away.
Well, what's really interesting about Mechanical Turk that I was just reading? They're actually starting to use it for research papers. So Mechanical Turk, you can basically, it's sort of like you can blast out to people who are Mechanical Turk workers. So it's called Mechanical Turk because the original Mechanical Turk was this machine that would play chess, I think it was. But actually, there was a guy sitting underneath. It was like a crate that they would roll in with a chessboard on top, and there was what was called the Mechanical Turk was sitting on one side of the board and would magically move the pieces and play chess. But what was actually happening was there was a guy sitting underneath there that was controlling the levers underneath that was actually moving the pieces. So the modern instantiation of that is a service from Amazon called Mechanical Turk, where you can hire people to perform tasks for you, basically. So the one I was just reading about, which is researchers who want to do psychological or personality studies, they can release their survey or whatever it is that they need people to take, and Mechanical Turk will find people to take that survey for you. And you can winnow out the ones where people obviously didn't take their time, but you get this unbelievably, like, a much broader pool of people than you would normally, where if you're doing a study at a college, you basically have college kids or people who are associated with the university. But Mechanical Turk, you get people from all walks of life, from all around the world. So it's a really cool service.
And so it's an Amazon service, by the way. And so yeah, I mean, you just have this army of people who you pay fractions, in some cases fractions of cents to.
Yeah, I didn't mention that. It's dirt cheap. It's much cheaper than actually like going out to hire people for research papers is the reason that people are using it
Right.
now.
And so you just pay you post a job and you put a bid on it like half a cent or a dime or whatever. And every time these Turks complete it, they just get paid whatever that bounty is. And you have this army of people just at your disposal to do all kinds of verifiable tasks that you would never want to do yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's like infinite uses for it, but things like tagging media or removing duplicate listings from a site, you know, all kinds of stuff that basically just imagine that you could manually do yourself. You can post on Amazon's Mechanical Turk service and have other people do it for you.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is it expands upon another kind of concept in software development that kind of expands beyond software development, but it's very prevalent in software development, which is called the Wizard of Oz, the Wizard of Oz philosophy. And so this is much more prevalent in the entrepreneur world, but it goes to prototypes all the time. So if you're a business and you kind of want to prove, like, let's say you're a general manager and you want to take a concept to the owner to prove to the owner, to show the owner that you really should invest in technology. Or let's say you're an entrepreneur and you have this idea for this app, but you don't have the funding to get it built, but you really need to show a potential investor the potential of your idea. Well, you use the Wizard of Oz philosophy. And basically what that means is you're showing someone that looks like a functional app, but behind the scenes, maybe a developer is actually moving the pieces to make the app look real. Like you can submit, like, let's say, for example, you have this entrepreneur who wants to invent a teledoctor type thing where it can take your symptoms and tell you in less than 10 seconds what illness you have. And so just to prove the point to the investor or whatever, the investor types in their symptoms, hits submit, and that data goes to a real human. And the human just really quickly is like, mono. And so the investor's like, whoa, I do have mono. How did this know? And it's all just smoke and mirrors until the entrepreneur can actually get funding to make the app functional. Until that point, he just kind of fakes it till he makes it, or she just kind of fakes it till she makes it. Just to get that investment dollar.
Yeah, I guess that's the present state of things. Proof of concept until you get funding, and then you can actually make it work. Exactly. There's a great one. There was one that I think it was, what's that show? Shark Tank? Is that the investment show?
Yes, which I've never actually watched.
Yeah, I've only seen clips, and the only clips I see are the ones where stuff goes hilariously wrong. So I think my perception of the show is a lot funnier than it actually is. But there was somebody who had, it was like a little box that you could put directly on an LP, and it would spin around and play the LP, and had speakers in, so you could just put it on an LP and it would play. And I think one of the guys paid $500,000 for like half the company or something like that, and like a couple $100,000 for the people who made it. And it's just the most colossal fail. Like it plays like at alternate speeds as it's going around the LP. But they made $500,000 plus on that. So if you can fake it, you don't even have to make it sometimes.
And that's why Kickstarter projects are so funny to me sometimes, because
God, I've gotten burned by Kickstarter so many times. I just don't even do it. You know what I got burned the worst by is there was a cool thing. It was called Coin, I think. It was basically like Apple Wallet before Apple Wallet existed. So you got sent like a coin card, and you would have like a coin app that you would scroll through and decide which credit card you want to use. And then it would show up on your coin card and you could use like a credit card. Well, like a month after you got sent your coin card was when all the credit card readers started needing chips if your card had a chip, but the coin card didn't actually have a chip. So like every single credit card needed, and you could just never use it. Like a month after you got it, it was completely useless.
Oh man,
it was like $50, and it was just like, well, this is never going to work. So it was just like straight in the trash.
That is what happened. Well, at least you got something. A lot of times, the Kickstarter will get to full funding and then never actually ship anything. I mean, has that
actually happened? People just not
Oh
make
my
stuff?
gosh, happens all the time. I did a Kickstarter and I got the thing like 2 years after they closed
I
funding.
thought you were gonna say you started a Kickstarter.
No,
You
no.
just ran off.
Yeah, that's my go bag. That's my bag plan, is to start a Kickstarter and then pop the soon to be wall that separates us from Mexico. And
You're gonna kickstart a one-way ticket to
that's
Thailand?
exactly right. Where the weather is beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know if you have anything else for this episode.
I think we did a good job of kind of going completely off the rails from selling stuff that we don't know how to describe to Kickstarters that don't exist.
To describing stuff that'll never sell.
Right, right. It was a smooth transition, but it was a good warm up for tomorrow. What do we? Oh, tomorrow we're
Day
talking
after.
about. Day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow.
That's right. And what do we got? We got the jobs.
Day after tomorrow is jobs that can be replaced.
That's right.
Which, spoilers, is all of them.
Well, spoilers. I don't know if you saw this,
but we're going to talk about the.
I don't know if you saw this, but
yeah.
Amazon just announced a big partnership with Berkshire Hathaway and JP Morgan to kind of launch their own healthcare solution. So that'll be a good topic of discussion. They haven't released much details yet, but it was enough to send all healthcare related companies' stock plunging.
Rightfully so, because I mean, a lot of that stuff. There was actually here's a preview. They just did a study where they developed AI to do pneumonia diagnosing based off X-rays, and the AI completely obliterated radiologists. So look out, healthcare industry. You're next.
We'll have a few more too.
Yeah, we got. I mean, the lists and the examples are endless. So Thursday, 1:00 Eastern time. Tune in for that. But that'll do it for this pop-up. I'm Derry Merkins. That's Cody Swan. Thanks a lot.